stronger than you, and you all know it. That's why you are ganging up here like some kind of mob. Do you not want to hear something? Do you not want to hear something, poor little babies, that might contradict something your professor told you? Oh. Might you have to think a little bit, child? Oh, I wouldn't want to put any of you through that.
Richard, welcome back, man.
Well, thanks for having me back on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. So you've been going to different college campuses, and you're being attacked. So let me ask, what's the message? What is causing you to go to these schools?
Well, the message is that I want to raise consciousness among white people of what is happening to the United States and what is really happening around the world to wake us up, in effect. But I also want to go to college campuses because these are places for discourse. These universities aren't just for research. They aren't just for classes. They are platforms for the most important debates, or at least they should be. That's their mission. That's how they understand themselves. And so these are amazing places for me to go and engage with students. It's also an opportunity for students to hear things that are otherwise suppressed in their courses. And so I think that going to the university, it's almost the perfect spot to do these. But as we learned in Florida, we now crossed a kind of Rubicon where these students are going to actively try to prevent me from speaking. So I've been to a number of universities before, like Auburn, Texas A&M. I've been to Berkeley a while ago, actually, to speak, a much smaller event. But I've always been able to speak. I've given a speech. There may be some hecklers in the crowd. That's not a big deal. And then I've had an hour or so of Q&A where I've really had a great engagement with the students. Some good questions, some off-the-wall questions. But this time in Florida, we had a horde of Antifa screaming at the top of their lungs for 2.5 hours while I and a couple of other people were trying to speak.
How did they get in? Who allowed them to get in, and why weren't they put out once they started to scream?
Well, this is a story in itself, actually. So when I spoke with the University of Florida and their security personnel, I said that if someone's going to heckle, that they should not be escorted out, that just allow them to speak their piece, get it off their chest, and I'll move forward, and I can usually handle these people. So that's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
When we allowed the university to hand out tickets, and at first. And then there was a mission among like some bars and the Antifa element to go buy up all the tickets and then burn them. Or there was actually a bar that promised to trade a beer for 2 tickets or something. So basically people were trying to keep the students out of the arena, and I would go and speak to an empty arena. Ha ha ha. So we took control of ticketing, and the University of Florida actually agreed with us. And so we are total amateurs at this, but the people doing it actually did a pretty good job. And so we had a meetup point, and we were trying to hand out tickets. I mean, I wasn't there, obviously, but they tried to hand out tickets to people who seemed reasonable, like they were making a good faith effort to go listen to me. And we actually did. The room was more or less full. It could have been fuller, actually. I've spoken to even bigger crowds, but yeah, the people there were actually the better people in the Antifa, and this is how they act. So I guess the worst Antifa who were kept out would have been throwing things or doing God knows what.
Who invited you to the university there in Florida, and who are inviting you to these other schools? Well,
I guess we're placing the crown on our own heads to a very large degree. Cameron Paget is a student who actually originally invited me to Auburn. And I have worked with Cameron at a number of universities where actually Cincinnati will be most likely the next event where we are booking rooms. These are, remember, these universities are federal facilities. So booking a room is much like booking a town hall or something like that. We're using them as a public institution.
I see. And so you said you want to inform white people what's going on, not only in this country, but around the world. What's going on with white people that you need to inform them about?
Well, I think the demographic change in the United States is obvious enough. This is a country that was defined by Anglo-Saxon Protestants. It was defined by white Christians for well over a century. Even up to 1965 in the 20th century, this was effectively a white country that was a embodiment of our values and our history and our experience. I think it's very easy to recognize that this country is dramatically changing, and a lot of conservatives would want to tell themselves this kind of lullaby that yes, the color of people's skin might change, which is how they define race, but everything will be the same. So we'll have the same values, the same legal system, the same culture, the same type of political actors, and so on. But they'll just be new people. Well, that's never going to happen. I mean, culture and politics and society are derived from the people who constitute a nation. But I think even more than the demographic change is this moral change that I see among my people, that we don't feel that we are legitimate, that the world is going to be better without us, that the world is better when there are fewer white people at corporations, when there are fewer white actors in this or that movie, when we start to appreciate, first off, I agree in appreciating other cultures, but when we start bringing more and more non-whites into our institutions, into our societies, that a neighborhood is somehow better when it is multicultural or multiracial. We've reached a state of moral delegitimization. Fundamentally, we don't believe in ourselves. We think the world is better when there are fewer of us.
Are there white people? Are white people listening to what you're saying? I know a few are, but a majority of white people, because as you know, you are known as or being called a white supremacist. Is the label has been put on you, and as a result, a lot of white people are rejecting you, and by your focus being just on white people, it looked the same as it does with when the blacks do the Black Power thing, black people, or the KKK was about the KKK, the Muslims about radical Islam. You're in that same bucket with all of them. And, as I told you before, I think it's a big mistake, because if you mean well, because of that perception, it's not going to work. And the few whites that will follow you are going to end up in the ditch, just like the blacks who have gone down the same path. I'll let you respond to that after this break. Richard Spencer is back, co-editor of altright.com and president of the National Public Institute. And Richard's been on an attack. He's been speaking at, National Policy Institute. He's been speaking at different universities around the country and just totally under attack. I saw part of a video down in Florida where it went south, as they would say.
So why are you all here? Why do you think that you need to suppress speech? The answer is because you know that what I am saying is true. You know that what I am saying is powerful. You know that what I am saying is going to change the world. And therefore, you all want to stop it. You're going to fail.
The University of Cincinnati released a 2-minute video on Friday with the hashtag We Choose Love. And Richard is scheduled to speak there early 2018. So that's amazing, Richard. Before the break, I asked, why go down the road of white people road? Because yes, you got to get some white people to listen and join with you, but majority won't. It's going to end up in the same manner that Louis Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright Jr., the KKK, and other groups have ended up. Why not just do what's right and talk about that and deal with that rather than what's white?
Because I don't think you can actually separate a value from the people that hold it. And it's very, I think you're being very genuine when you say that why don't we just do what's right? And I know that you have a very authentic Christian experience. That's where you're coming from. But the fact is, the Christianity that you believe in and love and rightfully admire derives from the European experience. I mean, it obviously did not originate as a European religion. I would never say that. But the Christianity that we have today that values truth as the primary goal, that has a concept of original sin, the incarnation, and so on. This is deriving from European history and a European experience. It's all well and good to say that I want what's best for everyone. I want what's simply right. But all of those values come from somewhere. All of those values are connected to a people and are connected to a history. And those are ultimately European values. So what's happening now, and this is this place that we're in, that where we're crossing over Rubicon and we're thinking differently. What's happening now is that previously race was not, well, for a long time, it wasn't really something that a white person had to interrogate. And that doesn't mean that there weren't bitter racial disputes and that there divisions and so on. Of course there were. But a white person's whiteness was not something that he had to interrogate or think about or rediscover. Living in a multicultural world, he definitely does. He has to ask that question, maybe for the first time, who am I and who are we? And so when we start to ask that question, we start to recognize the connection of these values with our people. I don't want to be another Louis Farrakhan in the sense that, or Al Sharpton or anything like that, in the sense that I'm just going to be one more race monger who's
Yep.
Eating at the trough of the white middle class, effectively. I want something far greater, something really far grander. I want a reawakening of the white man in the United States and around the world. This isn't an ideology of handouts and gives. This is an ideology of the kind of people who are going to be ruling these countries in the future, the kind of people who are going to create the future, not the people who beg for handouts.
So do you believe that will happen with the title White Supremacists? I read that the media and politicians say they brace for you when you speak on campuses. And so with being called a white supremacist and having this focus on white people in the manner that you're doing it, do you think you're going to accomplish what you're trying to do?
They can call me whatever they want. I mean, people have called me a white supremacist for years, and it has washed over me. It's not a big deal. I don't take it seriously. I actually hear it a lot less now, to give the media some credit, to be honest. I'll usually hear white nationalists now. I'll sometimes hear identitarian, which is the term that I prefer, and I'll very often hear alt-right.
Do you love all people?
I know the easiest thing for me to say is just yes, but I think that would not be true to human nature to say that I love all people. We love our own children more than we love those of strangers. We love our own parents more than we love a neighbor down the street. We love that neighbor down the street more than we love someone living in Beijing. To say that we just love all people is almost to create this undifferentiated blob of good feelings. That's really against human nature. When you love a woman, you don't want other men loving that woman like you do. You want to possess her, and vice versa. A woman wants the absolute profound love of that man. Both are jealous. Both have feelings of frustration and anger and possessiveness. This is what love is. Love is not this nice, cutesy thing that we give to all people. Love is about pain. It's about hatred. It's about possession. It's about subjugation and domination. And that's just the facts of life.
Let me take a quick break. When I come back, we'll take some calls. So Richard Spencer is here. And we're going to get to your calls in 1 minute. I got to go back to my question, Richard. Do you love all people? You never answered that.
Well, the short answer is no. The long answer is that to even ask that question, from my perspective, is to misunderstand the nature of love.
What is love?
You can't love all people.
What is love?
Love is a profound feeling of loyalty and maybe even a little bit of possessiveness and jealousy, or a lot of it sometimes, towards other human beings who are close to you. One can't love the world. One can only love particular people. One loves one's children more than one loves children of strangers. One loves one's parents.
Richard, right, you said that. Let me ask, I forgot if you answered this for me last time. Are you a Christian?
I'm not a Christian.
Oh.
I'm a cultural Christian, as I've said.
Yeah.
I am being very honest when it's a lot of politicians who probably don't believe in God at all and don't take the Bible seriously would answer, of course I'm a Christian.
No, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate
I'm an honest person.
Are you an atheist?
I could say I'm a tragic atheist, and I'll explain that. I was certainly reared in a Christian household. I've been influenced by Christianity, Episcopalianism in particular, but the whole Christian world in general. So I'm a cultural Christian in that sense.
Okay.
I am an atheist, but a tragic one. I do not, unlike people like Richard Dawkins and others who think that the world will get better when people stop believing in religion or reject Christianity. I do not believe that at all. I'm simply being honest about where I am. I am a man of doubt and skepticism. But I believe that this death of religion, you could call it the death of God, as Nietzsche described it, is actually a terrible, tragic thing. It has clearly been disruptive towards a healthy society.
Because of time, Richard. Because of time, and I want to get some calls in. Give me short answers to these.
Sure.
The last time we talked, I recommended you should go and forgive your father. Did you do that?
I have actually thought quite a bit about that.
Did you do it?
I'm not really motivated, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible here. I don't think that any of my motivations, my fundamental motivations, derive from a resentment towards my parents. I generally have, I think, a healthy relationship with my parents, although, of course, there are problems thrown in, as there always are.
But you do have some issue with your father. You said that last time, right?
Yeah, I think there's some strain there, sure.
So
yes,
why not go to him and deal with that? Be a man, go to your father and deal with that.
I have forgiven him. I have swallowed that resentment.
Did you tell him?
I have told him, yes. We actually spoke recently, a couple of weeks ago. We were together actually in the same place, and we talked man to man.
And you told him, I'm sorry for holding a grudge against you?
I think there's more that I need to do.
Okay. So let me tell you this. Love is, I love everybody. I love my enemies. I love my enemy in the same manner that I love my children. And to me, love is simply not hating, not being angry, not judging. And it's not the passion that you speak of. That is a love, but it's a fallen state love. It's a fake love. It's a false love. It's an imitation of the real love. That's why it doesn't last. And if you,
I love my enemies.
If you can't love your enemy, if you can't love your enemy, then you love no one. And so that's one of the reasons I really encourage you to go back and forgive your father and mother, because if you don't learn to love them, you're not going to love your wife, your children, or anyone.
I do love them.
But then go and forgive them then.
I can forgive them. Maybe I agree with you. There's probably more than I can do.
Is there more?
But I do love them.
Is there more you can do? Is there more you can do?
There is more than I can do. I will take what you're saying to heart.
Let's go to
Sure.
Let's go to Mark out of San Diego, California. Mark, thanks for calling and thanks for holding. You're on with Richard Spencer.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, Richard.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, I just wanted to comment. I listened to Richard Spencer almost only on your show, so I don't know a whole lot about him.
Yes.
But I do know that he says a lot about European, white, and Christianity. Also, he talks about the success of America. However, those things are not completely connected. For example, Mexico is 98% Catholic, Christian. They don't have the success you're talking about. Europe, most of Europe doesn't even have a military. We take care of them. The United States, American conservatism, limited government, is the standard of success, not Europe. What do you think about that?
Okay, a couple of things there. I agree that I don't believe that Christianity will inherently create a economically successful, productive society. And obviously, you can look towards a place like Mexico as an example of that. I think that's obvious.
Richard, hold on a minute. I'm sorry. Hold on.
By thinking.
Hold on, Richard. We have a bad connection.
Do you not hear me?
Yeah. Okay, Mark, hold. I want you to listen. I'm gonna put you on hold. Do not hang up. All right. It may be coming.
No problem.
It may be coming from your phone. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay. I agree with Mark in the sense that we can't just convert other peoples to Christianity and then expect them to have productive, economically successful societies. I think that is a delusion. Mexico is an excellent counterexample to that.
Yeah, it's bad connection. Hold on, Richard. I'm so sorry. Richard, hold on. We have a bad connection with this. Put Richard on hold for a minute so we can get that straightened out. We're going to take a quick break. We have a bad connection between Richard's Skype and this end. Mark, do not hang up. I'll let you respond after Richard responds to you. We're going to take a quick break, Richard, and we'll come back and respond to Mark. Okay, let's go quickly back to Richard. Richard, let's give it a quick try. We have about 3 minutes left. How do you go and respond to Mark from San Diego?
Sure. I agree with Mark that one can't simply convert a population to, say, Christianity and then expect immediate results in terms of economic success and so on. Mexico is a good example of that. Liberia actually has more or less the U.S. Constitution, and yet Liberia is effectively an African nation just like the rest of them. So I agree that things derive from the people. They don't really derive from institutions. Institutions, in fact, derive from the nation. The other question was, it's the United States is the measure of success. Well, look, we live in a particular time where the United States really was quite lucky when you think about it in the 20th century. The United States, although many men, including some of my relatives, fought very, very bravely in the Second World War, we should be honest, Russia took the hit in that war. Russia suffered tremendous casualties that I don't think many Americans can actually imagine.
Let me get a quick, because I'm tired, Richard, let me get a quick response from Mark. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot I would like to say, but just because of time, I say those things because you speak of Christianity and you speak of being European descent or European origin, and Europe is not a standard of success. So my point is, it's not about being European. It's not about having white skin. It's not even about being Christian.
Yeah.
It's about freedom. People come here to be free from all over the world.
There are places with freedom that are total disasters and failed societies. America is ultimately derived from Europe. And Europe is not just a geographic place. I mean, Europe
Where is a place that's freedom but disaster, Richard?
Yeah.
Where?
Liberia.
Oh, Liberia.
I mean, most of Africa does not have a massive welfare state or something like this. There's a tremendous amount of freedom in the sense that there aren't these oppressive institutions of socialism.
That's completely false. People send charity
false?
to Africa all the time, and it gets stolen. There's no protection. There's no safety over in Africa.
Well,
Protection
you're
and
talking
safety
about
first
something
before you can have any type of economic system.
Let me
And
do
then
this, guys,
you need
because
to uphold.
Mark, I got to run. Richard, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. We'll have you back.
I'd love to be back. This is my favorite radio show.
All right, thank you.